Welcome everybody to our current session, which is coping with advancements, progress in the biotechnology industry. My name's Dr. Nasser Al-Jafari. I'm a physician with an interest in longevity, and today I'll be the moderator for our session. We're fortunately living in a world where we see a convergence of data, technology, and science, which is really lending itself to improving diagnosis earlier, leading to more effective treatments, and even preventing and reversing diseases that we couldn't do beforehand. And this is hopefully going to lead to more impactful healthcare delivery. Now, I'm privileged to be joined by our three speakers today who all occupy senior positions within the pharma industry regionally. We look forward to hearing their insights into various areas within the developments of the biotechnology industry. But just to set the scene, OECD countries are spending, on average, 8.5% of their GDP on healthcare, and it's estimated 20% is wasted. There needs to be change, and a lot of the enablers of change we have available to us today. We're going to be touching on topics such as the application of precision medicine and its role, the use of AI technology in drug discovery, and international collaboration, and also public-private partnerships in fostering innovation. So, not to waste any more time, I would like to intro our first speaker, Alfat Barrow. She's the current CEO of Roche Pharma Middle East. It's a position she's held since 2019, having been 20 years in the industry in many different roles. She has been voted in the top 100 healthcare leaders and also separately in the top 100 businesswomen in the Middle East. Alfat, can we hear a little bit more about you and what you're doing in your role as CEO Roche Middle East? And also, how is Roche staying on top internationally and both regionally in this biotech world?
Thank you, Dr. Nasser, for the introduction, and it's a great pleasure as well for me to be in this panel and in this city that mirrors the innovation and the progress that we want to see in healthcare. Maybe before dwelling into this topic, let me reflect a little bit on where we are coming from. When I started my career, like around 25 years ago, I think the Middle East in particular was having an increase in number of population, and this was a period that was marked with advancement and prosperity, globalization, and at the same time an economical advancement that we have seen in the region. And this has implied really an importance and imperative for a change when it comes to the healthcare, in order to address the challenges, the long-standing challenges that were there in from the healthcare perspective, but as well to thrive and to pioneer in the healthcare segment. So that was kind of a transformational period for many of the Middle Eastern countries. However, the start of this decade, at the beginning of 2020, I think there has been an inflection point to many countries of the Middle East when it comes to their visions. So we have seen a lot of governments putting very bold vision and ambitious vision, and they have put the healthcare at the center of those visions. And we can say maybe the pandemic was a very unfortunate and unlucky situation for the globe. However, it was a very enabling and catalyzing factor to propel those visions and to really confirm the importance of healthcare in the economies and in the future and the sustainability of the world. From us, our perspective as a leading company in healthcare, Roche, definitely we have been innovating in many fronts when it comes to the diagnostic pieces, or at the same time to the innovation in treatment from oncology, ophthalmology, rare condition, urology, and many other diseases that we are innovating for. However, one very important aspect that we believe in is the personalized healthcare, which tackles many of the pieces that you've introduced in your introduction, which is the precision medicine, the technology, and other aspects. Maybe to shed the light on the importance of personalized medicine and why we consider as Roche that this is a very important aspect. One very important piece is that we consider every individual as unique. So even the patients, every single patient is unique. So there's no one size that could fit all. And we see that personalized medicine could be a great leverage for us because it will deliver to the patient the best outcome that they will be looking for, and to the caregiver, or as well to the payers or to the investors. They could gear their investments towards the places where they can make the best differences or the most differences in the end. And to bring this more to life, the importance of this personalized healthcare, let me share with you a personal example or a real life story that I have from my auntie. Her name is Jamile. My auntie, in her late age of 60, late 60s, she was a very healthy person. She led a normal life. She was passionate about gardening and farming. And then suddenly she started developing a cough. When she developed this cough, she took, like many of us, anti-cough medicine. However, her cough persisted. She went to a GP, and he told her that there's nothing to worry about. She can continue her medication, added a few stuff as well on the medication list, and then sent her home. And he asked her if she persisted, the cough persisted, to go back to him. Then 2 months later, she continued to having this cough. So she started losing weight, her chest started having some pain, and her family started, this is when they started really getting worried. So she went to a specialist, and unfortunately, after several diagnostics and biopsies, she was diagnosed with cancer. She was given the treatment that was best for her situation, but however, she was diagnosed in a very late stage. And she left us in a very early phase of her life, if you want to say. This is her journey. However, if I want to leverage the knowledge and the technology like we're speaking about here today, I would imagine her journey would have been different. I would imagine that her doctor will be able to understand all her lifestyle and all the diagnostics or signals that could be associated with her life through maybe a smartwatch that she would be wearing or any wearable device that she would be wearing. He would be then able to predict her risk for lung cancer and invite her for an early diagnosis. And with that, he would maybe catch her cancer very early on in the journey. So diagnosing that very early, having a comprehensive genomic profiling for her would help him as well understand what is the genetic makeup of her cancer that is really particular for her. And with this, he could match her type or her profile with the real-world data that is existing everywhere and diagnose her early, treat her better, give her a better outcome, and maybe she would have been living with us today. Maybe the second scenario is a little bit imaginary, but is not very far from our reality today. And I think we can really see that very soon. So what are we doing as a company in order to make the life of patients, or my auntie Jamile, Allah yarhama, maybe life persist or live longer? We are doing many things. First, we are really leveraging on the technologies that are existing today in order to address and to enhance our research and development strategies, but at the same time on implementing it in the care continuum for the patients. And for this, we really rely on 4 aspects. The first and most important aspect is relying on the diagnosis and the accurate diagnosis for the patients. And this is by leveraging technology, genetics, analytics, computational analytics as well, in order to better understand and have a more accurate diagnosis for the patient. The second aspect is really reliance on the real-world evidence and reliance on the data. And we today think and really confident that with having appropriate use of the data, it will not only help us better understand or progress on the discoveries of the molecules, but as well it will help us in the treatment. Third is ensuring that patients have access to care wherever they are, irrespective from their background or where they live or where they come from. And finally, having a post-treatment monitoring. For all of this to happen, there's a very important catalyst, which is a collaboration. No one can do it alone, and without a collaboration between different partners, different innovators in the healthcare sector, we will not be able to do it. So I'm pretty sure that many people in this room maybe share the excitement about personalized healthcare, but I truly believe there's a lot to be done in this field, and I think that this forum as well could be one of the starting point of different collaboration that we can see.
Thank you, Alpha. And just coming from the side of a physician, certainly on the diagnostics side, there's even a lag between current technology infiltrating regular practice. I mean, as I said at the start, a lot of this technology and these enablers exist. I mean, I know in our practice, we're using a lot of the liquid biopsying for cancers, and I'm of the belief that if you screen rigorously and often enough, you can prevent cancer, and we have that technology. A lot of the genomics in the oncology treatment, it's available, but physicians are not aware or utilizing, or the insurer will not pay for it. So unfortunately, I guess at the moment, there are limitations on the physician side, but then also on the payers side. Thank you, and I'm sure we'll touch on many more of the topics that you spoke about. Our next speaker is Alex Aliper. He's the co-founder and CEO of Insilico Medical. He has also been ranked in the top 100 leaders in biotech and AI, and also top 20 under 40 execs in biotechnology. Insilico Medical is probably the one maybe that many people here haven't heard of, but I've had the fortunate insight to seeing the technology you have in your labs, and also heard about some of the great work you're doing. Tell us what you're doing over at Insilico Medical.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Alex. Pleasure to be here. Insilico Medicine is an AI-powered biotechnology company. So we develop medicines, discover medicines using generative AI and our AI platform. Our priority and our mission as a company is to extend healthy, productive longevity for everybody on the planet. And we're going after age-related disorders. So most of our programs, and we have over 30 therapeutic programs, are focused on age-related disorders. Our lead program is in phase 2 in the US and in China, focused on fibrosis. Fibrosis is the underlying cause of many diseases. It's one of the hallmarks of aging in general. We started our journey back in 2014 when AI was not as topical as it is today, and generative AI was only emerging. In 2015, you started getting more like first generative models, and following that in 2017, you had transformers. So with that onset, we immediately started implementing those models in our workflows and building up a platform capabilities to allow us to generate target hypotheses and mechanistic hypotheses behind the diseases of interest, and also then small molecule hypotheses, generate small molecules that would modulate the disease in the right way and cure the disease. So in our space, in contrast to ChatGPT, it takes a lot of time to validate the answer, the generated response of the model. So you need to synthesize a molecule suggested by the model. You need to test it in the lab. You need to make sure it is efficacious in a disease model. So that all takes time and resources. So we were fortunate enough to start early. So we had our time to validate our models, and currently we have over 40 validated models in our pipeline, which are essentially combined in the end-to-end pharma AI platform, which tackles target discovery, biomarker discovery, small molecule generation, and clinical analytics. Using this platform, we have been able to build a strong pipeline, so over 30 therapeutic programs from 2020 to 2023, 4 clinical stage programs, 9 preclinical, IND-enabling programs. The rest are coming towards preclinical soon. And we set a few records with generative AI. So we've demonstrated that you can go from 0 to preclinical candidate in IND-enabling stage in under 18 months, where it typically takes about 5 to 6 years to do that. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. So at Insilico, we try to democratize drug discovery, make it affordable. There are thousands of diseases without a cure, without any treatment option. The current pace of pharmaceutical R&D needs to be accelerated with the power of AI, and we want to provide more treatment options to patients in need. So that's our mission, that's our goal, and we are applying cutting-edge AI and robotics, laboratory robotics, to automate this process and deliver more medicines to patients.
Thank you. Yeah. And so what happened to you recruiting Sam Altman? Microsoft beat you to it.
Well, as you know, Sam Altman actually is very interested in longevity. So he invested in Retro, and an agent startup company out of Bay Area, right? So he's also very interested in longevity, and we hope to collaborate with him personally as well sometime down the road.
Well, and so I'm sure you're the company that all the big pharma are trying to collaborate and partner with. And last but not least, Jean-Paul Chua. He is the MCO lead and MD for specialty care for Sanofi Middle East. He's been GM for 18 years and 27 years in the industry. He too has also been ranked in the top 100 business executives regionally. I'm sure the crowd are very interested in hearing about you, but also I believe you are currently engaged in a number of transformation efforts across all levels in your company, both locally, but also internationally. Just tell us how that fits in with the developments in biotechnology.
Thanks a lot. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I would just like to start with a story, actually, which is probably what is driving all of us working in the pharmaceutical and healthcare. That's the story of Lamar. Lamar, she's today a 7-year-old girl. She's going to school. She's even in grade 1, and when she was 18 months, actually, she has been tested with an enlarged liver spleen. And then has started for her a very long journey of medical exams, appointment with doctors, testing, until when she turned out to be 3, she has been diagnosed with a very, very rare disease, which is called ASMD. And ASMD is a very grave rare disease, actually, with a very poor prognosis and a life-threatening disease for kids. During the next year, she has gone through different treatment and procedures, but unfortunately, there was absolutely no treatment available to treat this disease. Until a year ago, when actually Sanofi has launched the first and the only treatment for ASMD. Then Lamar has became the second patient in the region to receive this treatment. After having been severely infected, she had a lot of difficulties to breathe. She has been multiplying, actually, respiratory infections. Actually, she has been given this treatment. And just to illustrate what is the effect of the treatment, I will just quote her doctor, saying that now she has changed massively. Organomegaly of the liver and spleen is gone. She used to contract respiratory infection very frequently. Now this is just the past. She exercises and attends ballet classes like any normal kid. She's like a new girl. And I think that through this story, I think we can really understand what we are all thriving and aiming at doing when we work in the pharmaceutical industry. We call it in Sanofi as chasing the miracle of science to improve people's life. And I think that this is really the illustration and the importance of what we are doing when we talk about innovation, when we talk about whatever the way we are doing to research and to develop new treatment. The development of a new treatment takes it's a long journey as well. It can take 10, 15 years. It's a significant investment. Actually, Sanofi is investing more than 6 billion euros each year just to research and develop new treatment, with a target of developing, obviously, treatment for disease either for which there is no available treatment, or to improve existing treatments, actually. And we are doing this in a lot of different diseases. We've done this recently by launching the first biologic treatment to treat atopic dermatitis. We have just launched a couple of months ago a new vaccine to treat respiratory syndrome for kids. And I believe that that gives really the significance and the meaning of what we are doing. Now, Lamar, actually, her parents had no insurance and she could not pay for this treatment. And obviously, this kind of treatment is unfortunately very expensive, as being a very rare disease treatment. And at Sanofi, we have created a program, actually, a worldwide program, which is fully financing the treatment and the access to treatment for kids, actually, who cannot afford actually paying for this treatment, who have no insurance to cover it. And again, this is, I think, the second part of what we are doing here. not only researching, developing new treatment, but making sure that all patients can have access to these treatments. What we are doing here in the region is we have 200 patients actually in the UAE, for example, who are included in what we call an affordability program, which is helping actually through different mechanisms to finance either partially as a fully the treatment for some of those patients who cannot have access to it, unfortunately. I mean, innovating as well and working in healthcare, in pharma actually is also, yes, using the most up-to-date technology. You talked about artificial intelligence. That's obviously actually one of the very important new technologies that we are using. We are using it in different ways as well. I mean, first, helping us, again, to research and develop new treatment. AI is really helping in screening new targeted molecules, in speeding up actually the time to research, in speeding up the time to diagnosis as well. I mean, Lamar diagnosis came a little bit more than 2 years after she has, I mean, the first symptoms have appeared, which is quite quick actually. You have to know that for a rare disease, I mean, a kid can wait for 5 to 7 years before being diagnosed, and sometimes, unfortunately, these kids do not have 5 to 7 years in front of them before they get diagnosed actually and get their treatment. So again, AI, by screening databases, actually ensuring a faster family screening as well is obviously, I mean, very much supporting acceleration of diagnosis. It is also helping actually us internally in companies to work differently. I was mentioning in research, but it can also help us in manufacturing, for example. I mean, implementing AI in Sanofi has helped us to, with an accuracy above 80%, really to better forecast and avoid shortages of treatments actually, which, as we know, I mean, since COVID has really been a significant issue worldwide. So all this to say that, yeah, the usage of new technology, investing in research, I mean, has only one objective at the end of the day is really, I mean, to make sure that kids like Lamar or patients actually, I mean, I mean, affected by oncology disease or whatever, multiple sclerosis, or, I mean, are not left untreated. And this is, I believe, what we are all doing in the pharmaceutical industry, really ensuring that we can discover new treatment and giving access to this treatment for a vast majority of patients who need it.
Thank you, Jean-Paul. And, you know, isn't the elephant in the room here that, you know, in the past 50 years, pharmaceutical drugs have been the sort of tale of two stories. You've had the kind of glass half full, whereby we've had blockbuster drugs which have made a massive impact. Yet on the flip side, the glass sort of half empty, we've got this Erum's law, which is the opposite of Moore's law, where drugs are costing exponentially more and more year after year, yet without an increase in drugs. I think also putting it another way, in 2010, your top 10 blockbuster drugs, I think these are US statistics, treated 40 million people. Those top 10 blockbuster drugs these days will only treat 12 million people, despite the R&D spend doubling. We've got a real problem. Paul?
I mean, investing in a new treatment is a very significant investment, right? I mean, we are talking here between 2 and 4 billion euros just for one treatment, and we need to understand that out of 100 molecules actually which are screened, which are developed, only 1 or 2 will make it to the treatment. And today we are more and more treating very specific disease. We are not researching anymore for treatments in hypertension, treating hypercholesterolemia. I believe that doctors already, I mean, have all that they need actually to treat this kind of condition. So obviously you are now targeting, I mean, more rare diseases or niche disease, or to treat a certain part of a disease like, I mean, you could say, I mean, we have a drug to treat breast cancer, but obviously now you would be searching for a specific kind of breast cancer and to really have a very much targeted treatment. So that's obviously, unfortunately, significantly increasing actually the cost of development. And as a matter of fact, actually, the cost of the treatment, but again, I think that the mechanism around it, as the one that I was mentioning, I mean, are supporting giving access to this treatment to the poorest. They are, I mean, almost all companies have programs actually in poor countries actually to give access either at cost of goods, either even at I mean, for free. I mean, for some treatment which are so important for them. So I think there are a lot of mechanisms actually in place today to make sure, and unfortunately it's not perfect, but to make sure that no patient with a severe condition is going to be left untreated.
Maybe Dr. Nasser, to add to that, I think JP, you alluded to this in a very comprehensive way. As well as international companies, our aim is really to follow the science and really to see where is the highest unmet medical needs. Unfortunately, those rare conditions have a very high unmet need, and this is where you require really to invest really higher in the research and development in order to understand a deeper understanding of the disease itself, of the biology of the disease itself. Try one time, two times, three times, and maybe fail several times in order to reach a stage where you can provide the best solutions and the best treatment for the patient. And this is what comes behind as well this research.
And I was going to ask, I mean, there's huge scope and opportunity. I think VC companies invested over 51 billion in therapeutic-based biotech companies last year. How as a company do you decide, the areas that are ripe to start first versus kind of the areas where you really, should go there?
Yeah, for us as a company, like we have, as Roche, we have 125 years history already in healthcare. And definitely, we have been really very well known in following the science. So we really follow the science. We try to understand deeply what are the diseases that, as I mentioned, that have still a big unmet medical need and that require us to be leaning on further. We have been innovating previously in our maybe heritage. We have made great impact in oncology and in cancer therapy. We have changed the treatment paradigms, and some of our innovation have become kind of a standard of care in many of the cancer diseases, like in breast cancer, in lung cancer, and in many other cancers. However, our focus today is as well to try to support or to help more patients from different disease areas. Like now we are trying to invest further in ophthalmology, and we are trying as well to think further about the patients, for example, as I mentioned, in rare conditions that really still have a lot of unmet medical needs and that require attention of the medical community and the healthcare community. So it's from one side following the science and at the same time really understanding what is the unmet medical need in the community that require more attention.
And we know that kind of learning systems are far more effective than humans at kind of end-to-end tasks kind of throughout the process. And, Alex, I know your company has partnered with probably more than half now of the top 20 sort of pharma companies. And I also know that there's evidence to suggest that AI-related drug discoveries, you're now kind of halving the time to being clinically applicable to 5-6 years from more than 10 years. How are you using that technology to assist Big Pharma?
Right. So as mentioned previously, so drug discovery is, first of all, it's hard, right? So it's hard to find, cure a disease, to find the mechanism behind the disease. Partially, that's why the R&D process is so expensive. You need billions to be invested. At the same time, that billions, comes predominantly from high attrition rate. So you have to go through many candidates, many iterations to get to a clinical candidate. And even after that, 9 out of 10 candidates, clinical candidates, will fail in clinical trials with the current statistics, right? So you need to kind of fix this ratio, unfavorable ratio, and make it more efficient, make this process more efficient. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying to deploy AI at the early stage when you discover a target, because target discovery is so important. So when you have the crescendo moment of clinical development, phase 2 stage clinical trial, where you test efficacy of a drug, so 2 out of 3 programs fail on average in that stage. And the failure mostly comes from the lack of efficacy due to the target choice. So you pick the wrong target. So we pay extra attention to selection of the mechanism of the disease. And once we perform a comprehensive and rigorous process of selection of mechanism, we then follow up with a generative AI-driven chemistry initiative, so generate molecules rapidly with a perfect profile, ADME tox profile, to get to the candidate as fast as possible and put it in human clinical trials. So that's where we have a second component of the platform focused on chemistry. And finally, we have a clinical analytics component that helps us de-risk and triage on those programs that have higher chance of succeeding in those phase 2 stage clinical trials. That's also a predictive engine we deploy. So all in all, we try to compress the timelines by minimizing the number of molecules we need to go through, the number of iterations we need to go through in the discovery cycle by incorporating many of those good properties in the molecules we're designing. So I think that with AI platforms like that, we can, and to your point, by us partnering, so we can only fix this situation together by collaborating across pharma industry, across biopharma and healthcare industry. That's the only way. So we have such a tremendous and untapped pool of many unmet medical needs on the planet. And the population is aging rapidly, right? So we'll have more incidents, more prevalence of disease with time. So we need to be proactive and getting more treatments out that will be efficacious, that would tackle not only those, huge therapeutic areas like oncology, where you have half of the R&D investment invested only in oncology, but also in other neglected disease areas, rare disorders, even antibiotics, which are currently completely neglected by pretty much everybody. So yeah, we need to do more. We need to apply AI where it is shown to be efficacious, and we need to collaborate.
And how is the regulatory framework keeping up? I mean, I know I read a statistic that 20 years ago, the difference in investment in R&D between the US and Europe was around about $2 billion. Now it's up at around about $25 billion. Why is the discrepancy between Europe and the US and even the rest of the world? I know Asia has become more attractive. What are the market forces at play? Maybe you guys, given that your companies are European-based, is there an issue? Is that a regulatory issue?
No, I don't think it's a matter of regulatory. I mean, the registration process, for instance, is relatively similar, and there is not a big gap between the moment you register in the US and the moment where you register in Europe, actually. So I don't think so. I think it's linked as well to the ecosystem in the US, which makes it more favorable to invest and to develop in this kind of new technology. And we know that in Europe it's probably more complicated. I just have one very famous example in mind today, when we understand that one of the first company who has been or the first company manufacturing actually an mRNA vaccine against COVID actually is a French general manager who has been trying to invest in France actually, but could not get the financing to do it. Went to the US, did it, and we see what has been the outcome. So I think that, and there are probably, a lot of different stories like this, unfortunately. So I think it's more an ecosystem. Again, beyond healthcare, when you look at the world of new tech, of social media, and so most of these companies are US-based, right? And it's not a hazard that in Europe, basically, it's probably more complicated for different reasons. To have this kind of support and financing, we are probably more prudent in doing this. When in the US, we are more risk averse versus US. This is the way I would explain it, and that's the same. Probably one of the reasons actually that could explain the figures that you had been giving in healthcare. I don't know if you have different.
I think that's totally in line with the thoughts.
I also heard Alex, your co-founder, Alex Zavarenkov, saying that he relocated a lot of your R&D to China to tap into $500 billion of infrastructure and hundreds of thousands of scientists being provided by the government. Is China the future?
Well, China is the present and the future, and so it is already evident to people who are kind of following the industry trends, right? So, right now, what is happening in pharma is very reminiscent of the IT revolution, cell phone manufacturing, etc. So where you have an Apple model designed in California, made in China. So the same happening in biopharma. And that's the model that we're deploying. So we can use our AI platform anywhere. We can use it in the UAE to discover new medicines. And by the way, this region, the whole Gulf region, has never discovered a medicine, put it on the market. So we want to change that. We want to discover first medicines out of this region and put it on the market to help patients. But we embrace the Apple model. We can use our platform here and manufacture, validate in China using those tremendous facilities that they've built. Even like a single CRO there have over 50,000 chemists, synthetic chemists. It's unthinkable to have it like anywhere in the world, right? So only in China can develop such a tremendous scale and capacity. So we adopt the Apple model, fabless model. We design in the UAE, we make in China. We design in Montreal, Canada, we make in China. And this is a huge problem for biopharma industry, and we must apply all resources to scale these solutions and get more treatments out. So that's our model, and I do think that China is the future. We have our fully automated robotics lab in China, built in China, 800 square meters of fully automated space, no humans allowed inside, robots transporting the samples and doing multi-omics sequencing, profiling, everything automated. In China right now is #1 in laboratory robotics. So not US, not Japan, not Europe. They have perfected laboratory robotics, and if you go to any hotel in China, a robot would be delivering your food. You can walk into elevator in China, and a robot comes in and goes to a specific floor and delivers the food, somebody who for a client. So that's kind of level of scale, the automation that China brings to the table, and yeah, we must embrace it and utilize it to everybody's benefit.
And how are you collaborating with the governments locally? I mean, I know you've relocated to Abu Dhabi. Talk to us how the government or private sort of organizations are assisting you. And also, I believe Jean-Paul Sanofi is collaborating with DOH on 4 key areas. Tell us a little bit about that, first of all, Alex.
Yeah, UAE has been amazing. So we have been here for 2 years now, and we feel nothing but love and support. We're very grateful to the country with the amount of resources and support we've been provided with. Here you have very pleasant ecosystem of players in healthcare, in AI, very rich pool of talent that you can tap into and convert people into healthcare professionals, AI professionals who are working in biopharma space. So very rich talent pool of talent, and the support has been tremendous. So we are supported by Abu Dhabi Investment Office. We have a facility in Masdar City, in Irina headquarter building. And we're also focused on quantum computing, which is also high priority for the region as well. Not only AI, but also kind of cutting edge tech, which will emerge in the coming 4 to 5 years. It's inevitable. So yeah, we feel very grateful to the UAE, to this country, and we hope to make a difference, hope to create more solutions, more medicines, generate more medicines for patients here in the region.
Jean-Paul, how's DOH? How are you collaborating?
Well, overall, actually, first, I mean, what the country is doing when it comes again to innovation and to use the latest best practice, actually, is absolutely amazing. I remember, a few years ago, they have already been, at the Ministry of Health implementing a new system for registration, which is allowing actually patients living in the UAE to have access to all innovation, new treatment, which is within just a couple of days after, the registration has happened in the US. So making of the UAE always the second or the third country in the world to have access to the new treatment. And that's absolutely amazing. And that was already 6 years ago, actually. Today, the country, and in particular in Abu Dhabi, I must say, actually is doing really its utmost to really become a very attractive hub for research and development. They are investing significantly, actually, in attracting this investment and giving themselves the possibility to really make it happen, creating a complete ecosystem. Alex was mentioning it, actually, which is really, really amazing and probably really, a top class now, when you compare to what is existing already in other countries, which have started much earlier. At our level, actually, we are collaborating with the Department of Health in Abu Dhabi. We're doing it as well with the DHA here in Dubai, actually, in in using actually artificial intelligence. I was mentioning it to improve diagnostic of rare disease. We have signed recently a partnership with DOH and with SAHA actually to really have access to their the database of data, being able to screen the data, I mean, according to a certain protocol, and actually to be able to, first of all, diagnose better and faster. Either, I mean, by identifying, I mean, genes which are causal of rare disease or whatever the disease is. We're going to try also to extend it to diabetes somehow. But of course, as well, to accelerate as well and adapt as best as possible the treatment which will be suitable for a given patient. So artificial intelligence here is just key and critical because you can do things that you could not do before in terms of rapidity, in terms of the number of data you're going to treat, in terms of precision of what you're doing. And I can't wait to see the first outcome of it. It just started. I mean, we've just signed it a couple of months ago. So now the time that everything is in place and we can really start the screening of the database. But I'm particularly convinced that this is going to significantly either accelerate time to diagnostic, or either even actually help to diagnose very simply. I mean, patients who have not been, I mean, in family, you have kids, you have patients who have, for different reasons actually, who are not at all diagnosed. And then using this kind of tools, this is going to help better treat patients, and in particular, I mean, when it comes to rare disease kits.
The future's bright. And just regarding the data, Olfat, how, well, I guess both individually and as a company, do you sort of strike that balance between data that's publicly available, say something like, you know, the UK Biobank, which maybe not that usable or clean or necessarily as appropriate, versus, well, and also not giving you the competitive advantage versus generating your own data?
I think data is becoming the very important aspect as well in what we call the personalized healthcare, or what we call like the advanced healthcare as well. From our perspective as Roche, we have a few years ago acquired a company that is called Flatiron, and this company has a huge database when it comes to medical records, around more than 100,000 database from around the globe, where they are able really to make sure first that the data is of quality, because if data is not of a good quality, it will yield to bad results, and at the same time to make it available for the research and for the decision making when it comes to the treatment. The other aspect that as well we're working with is that we've acquired as well Foundation Medicine, which is a comprehensive genomic profiling company that helps us understand better the genomic makeup of a certain disease. And recently, Foundation Medicine and Flatiron, they came up into, which are part of our group at Roche, they came up into a collaboration for a project that is called Clinic Genomic Project, with the intent really to have clean data, very up to date, like on a regular basis they are updating this data in order to better understand the diseases, in order to make this data usable for the research and at the same time usable for the clinical or the care continuum process.
So I think just due to the pressures of time, I think we would like to take some questions from the audience, but I hope you've been given a nice whistle-stop tour of the rapid advancements within the biotech industry. And you know, there's one thing for certain, that drug discovery now and in the future will be very different to our analog approach historically. Thank you to our three speakers. I'll hand over to the room. Any questions?
We need to take the... Oh, you will, yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. I would like to ask you, as doctors or CEOs of medical companies,
Yes.
do you see or predict
mics,
that...
please. Sorry.
Sorry,
Just...
And,
Sorry, please go ahead.
yeah, I was asking about the emerging of the AI with the medical or biotechnology sector. Do you see, as doctor or CEO of medical companies, that the AI might hinder the workforce, the human workforce, replace it?
Well, on the contrary, I feel that AI is gonna really help us big time in addressing many challenges that we foresee in in discovery. I think Alex alluded a lot about this topic, but one very important aspect is that with AI, we're gonna be able, and machine learning, we're gonna be able to better understand the diseases, and in this way, we're gonna be able to really address like some big molecules or bring to life big molecules, and at the same time, through like the DNA encoding technologies, we'll be able to really know what are the targets of certain diseases that are needed for the future. With this, we can shorten the timeline for the discoveries. We can shorten as well or have better targets for the clinical trials, and at the same time, maybe address some regulatory issues. This will not replace definitely the human aspect. However, it will enable, it will accelerate, it will create more intelligence into the process that will spare more time and will create more efficiency in the system.
Can I ask another?
Yeah, if I can add on I completely subscribe to this. It's going to help. It's going to accelerate. It's definitely not going to replace. There are very famous example you can find. I mean, there are some publication around it where AI has helped actually to make diagnoses that doctors could not do, right? Because actually sometimes it's very difficult, right? I mean, I was mentioning the story of Flamal, and I mean, sometimes it's very difficult to diagnose really what is the disease of a precise patient for different reasons. And there has been some experience done actually when you enter all the different medical exam results and a lot of different, information within the AI tool, and actually the diagnosis has come, right? Which was not done so precisely before. So it's going to be a help, it's going to be an accelerator, but let's not forget that healthcare and medicine actually is first of all something human, right? I mean, with emotions, right? I was recently in the FII in Saudi, and there was an incredible robot actually, I mean a nurse, right? And which was powered by AI actually, and really looking like human, incredible, really. I was shocked to see this, and then you are wondering, I mean, this is what we're going to have in hospitals, and I mean, it's incredible. I mean, and the way I say she's speaking. I mean, the answer she's giving to questions is absolutely amazing. And in the attendance, and it was not prepared because we could ask questions, and she was just answering. It was absolutely like in science fiction movie. It's not science fiction anymore. It's the present. And someone asked actually, I mean, if she was going to replace normal nurses. And it was very funny to get the answer of this powered AI robot who was saying, I mean, I'm going to help, but I will never be able to replace a normal nurse because I have no emotion. And I think that she said it all right.
Can I ask another question? We hear about the nanotechnology, and there is a recent concept of nanomedicine. Is it like normal medicine with like the emergent technology side, or what exactly?
Alex, I'll hand over someone a lot smarter than me to answer that.
Well, I do not want to claim that I'm a specialist here, right? So, but there are certain technologies that are linked to nanotechnology, right? The delivery system for even RNA vaccines, right? So you have to formulate those deliveries, and delivery is essential for mRNA vaccines. You know, Pfizer, BioNTech, or Moderna. That's something that they patent, right? So the delivery, the formulation. So we know that cases like this exist. So you have nano delivery system, non-technology-driven delivery systems. In terms of other therapeutics, so there are many different modalities that are linked to this, right? So there are radiotherapeutics that are mostly oncology-specific, right? So you kind of introduce radiation towards the site of the tumor, and other very, very interesting, like cutting-edge modalities that exist there. Our company focuses on small molecules, right? We're not really in that space, but we already see kind of cases where AI can help discover those kind of novel modalities and help design those formulations and deliver those medicines with speed.
I think also a current problem with the way that we practice healthcare is that there isn't often an appreciation of how complex biology is, and that clinicians are practicing without actually fully really understanding what disease is. I mean, do we fully understand what autoimmune conditions are? I mean, I've been talking about, gut permeability and this potentially being a precursor to autoimmunity, and that still gets ridiculed amongst rheumatologists and gastroenterologists. I think, we're basing disease on subjective symptoms of both the patient and the physician and categorizing it into archaic diagnoses that are more than 50 years old. So there has to be a change in the way that we look at biology. The pharmaceutical industry is clearly doing it, but I think the practitioners are still stuck in the early 20th century. And I think a lot of it depends on the data. So we're talking about AI and machine learning and data crunching, but ultimately, if you put junk in, you get junk out. And I think the data points we've been using, and this is probably, again, where AI can help, we're looking at different data targets. We're looking at metabolomics, we're looking at the microbiome, we're looking at proteomics, we're looking at methylation. I think we're at this inflection point now where that's where machines will really help in assimilating that data and change the way we think about biology and disease and how to treat it.
Thank you so much.
I think we're now out of time. Maybe, can we allow another question if there's another question? Yeah.
السلام عليكم مطيب عبد السلام
Alaikum salam.
كاتب وإعلامي طبعا
We cannot say that artificial intelligence is a magic stick that we are expecting many things from artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence started with the primitive man because it's a very old idea. My question is very practical when it is related to the speakers here because they have extensive experience in laboratory research. What is the ability? Do you have researches or practical experiences or experiments that can show the ability to implement in analyzing the genes or genetics and to predict what kind of diseases that those people will suffer from in the future?
Great question. Thank you. So there are many case studies that I can speak to from our experience, right? So we, in terms of finding targets and diseases accompanying it, there is a disease called amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. This is a neurological disorder affecting middle-aged and old people, and this disorder has unknown kind of origin. Etiology is not known. And it's a big problem to find a new treatment because you don't have any idea like how to treat it. So we published recent case study last year in 2022, where we used our platform to process through the omics data, as you said, and decipher several novel targets. So we nominated 26 novel targets to test and tested them on ALS animal model. It was a model in a fly, in Drosophila fly. And out of 26 targets we nominated, 21 targets worked in this model. So, and out of 21 targets, 8 were completely novel, unreported previously, unreported mechanism behind this disease, devastating disease, by the way. So we kind of see already tangible benefits of using AI to identify novel, truly novel hypotheses behind diseases, and also suggest us what diseases to go for a given target mechanism. As one of our strategies as a company, by the way, is to look for targets that would have dual role in aging process, and also in the disease. It's important to have a connection to the disease so you have a regulatory path towards a market, but connection to aging allows you to have a much more expansive therapeutic potential behind this molecule. Right? So take a recent example, Ozempic by Novo Nordisk is not currently being used predominantly for on-label diabetes, right? It is used as off-label for obesity. So we want to find those therapeutics that are targeting disease of origin but might have a kind of a label expansion towards the aging and other age-related disorders. And AI can help with that. So we have shown and published on that. So yeah, to your question, there are multiple case studies where we conclusively shown how AI can help, and this is already kind of the present. The future is just a question of how many challenging conditions like Alzheimer's and other diseases we can tackle and solve. So that's a question.
I just want to add to that. I mean, regarding the off-label, I mean, probably the only pharmaceutical that has consistently been shown across all species to extend health and lifespan in independent studies is rapamycin or sirolimus, which was originally, well, it's an antimicrobial, which was used and FDA approved as an immunosuppressive. But actually they found in a lot lower intermittent dosages, it extends the health and lifespan.
I think we can add to that the experience that we've had during COVID, where many medications that had a different usage before COVID that turned out to be life-saving during that pandemic because of the real-world data and the technology that has been used and the matching of the targets that Alex alluded to with the molecules that existed and that helped save many lives during that pandemic as well.
I think we're probably going to get thrown out very soon. Should we close it there? Thanks again to the panel and thanks for the audience for taking part. I hope you enjoyed the riveting discussion, and I'm sure the speakers will be free at the end to corner and speak to individually if you have any questions. Thanks again.